something strange found from a hole not far from the house. After search, not far from the Haro family's home, investigators began examining what appeared to be a small hole in the ground. At first glance, it seemed ordinary, the kind of thing you might walk past without noticing. But when the search team looked closer, they realized there was more to it. Inside were items unusual enough that they carefully documented and collected them, adding to the growing body of information. In the case of Emmanuel Haro, this new development doesn't provide all the answers. In fact, it raises even more questions. Why was this area not highlighted earlier? Could it be a detail that connects to the larger investigation? Or is it simply an unrelated finding that happened to surface during the wider search? What we do know is this: every detail in a case like this matters. Even the smallest discovery can shift how investigators see the bigger picture. And in a community already waiting for clarity, the news of this unusual finding has brought both renewed hope and fresh questions. But before we dive into this, kindly subscribe to our channel if you believe in fighting for justice. Because every view, every comment, every subscriber is a stand against silence and a step toward justice. We've just crossed 5,000 subscribers, all because of your support. And we need that same energy to reach 6,000, then 7,000, and then 10,000. So go ahead and drop your fingerprints on that subscribe button, and definitely where you're watching from. Because wherever you are, the day this vision is fulfilled, I will send my appreciation straight to you. Let's keep building this community that stands and fights for justice together. What was uncovered from a hole in the ground just steps away from where Emmanuel Haro once lived? And why did it take so long for the search team to bring it forward? For weeks, this case. He has been filled with ongoing questions, timelines under review, and investigators steadily piecing together the details. And then in the middle of this continuing search, something unexpected appeared. Not a breakthrough, not a conclusion, but a discovery unusual enough to draw the attention of the very team tasked with carefully examining every lead. It wasn't miles away in some remote location. It wasn't hidden deep in the wilderness. It was found close to the family's home in a simple hole in the ground. Something so ordinary at first glance that it might have been easy to dismiss. Yet, when searchers looked more closely, they chose to carefully remove what they found and officially document it as part of the case record. That single decision changes the perspective. It reminds us that no detail is too small and no area too ordinary to be set aside. Because in investigations like this, even the smallest finding can shift the path forward. But this also raises deeper questions. Why was this spot not noticed in earlier searches? How long had it been there? And why is the discovery only now being included in official reports? For many in the community, these questions echo a larger sense of frustration around a case that has already felt marked by uncertainty and waiting. So tonight we turn our focus not to speculation or rumor, but to what is confirmed. We will look closely at what was reported, how this discovery connects to the broader investigation, and how the community is responding to this unusual and unexpected turn. Because sometimes it is not the loudest announcement that matters most, but the quiet entry added to an evidence list. An entry that may carry significance far beyond what we can see today. To understand why this latest finding matters, we need to take a step back. In August of this year, 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro was reported missing in Yucaipa, California. His case immediately drew wide attention, not only because of his young age, but also because of the circumstances investigators were working to understand. At first, his parents stated that Emmanuel had been taken from them under unusual circumstances, and an urgent search began. Law enforcement volunteers and neighbors worked side by side, hoping for his safe return. But as the hours stretched into days, investigators reported finding inconsistencies in the story. Soon, the direction of the case shifted. Instead of focusing solely on a missing child report, the situation became a formal criminal investigation. Both parents were arrested and later charged with serious offenses. Court records now suggest that authorities believe Emmanuel may have been gone as early as August 5th, days before the report was first made to police. And yet, The most difficult truth is this. To this day, Emmanuel has not been located, despite repeated searches of the family's home, nearby neighborhoods, and even extended areas of open land. There has been no confirmed recovery connected to him. This is why every new discovery draws such attention. The community continues to hold on to hope that answers will be found. Investigators continue to expand their searches, sometimes revisiting the same areas more than once, determined not to overlook even the smallest detail. And now, with this unusual finding in a hole near the home, the case once again feels as though it has moved into new territory. The search is not over. It continues day by day. And with each passing effort, new details surface, details that may one day bring greater clarity to the story of Emmanuel Haro. From the very beginning, the search for Emmanuel has been wide-reaching. Teams have gone through homes and yards, carefully documenting anything that could hold significance. They have walked through open fields, searched along desert stretches, and explored nearby terrain that could easily conceal overlooked details. Search operations of this kind are rarely quick or simple. They involve methodical steps, constant rechecking, and a willingness to go back over the same ground more than once. And that is exactly what investigators have done here. They've returned to properties already examined, they've revisited areas neighbors thought were cleared, and they've adjusted their approach each time a new lead or piece of information came forward. This persistence is not unusual in major cases. Investigators know that the first sweep may miss something small, a footprint too faint to notice in the moment, a disturbed patch of soil that looks ordinary until viewed under different conditions, or an item so common that it only stands out later when new context is added. For this reason, search teams are trained to circle back, to reconsider, and to keep reviewing familiar ground. And it was during this careful, repeated effort that they turned their attention to a small hole in the ground located not far from the family's residence. On its own, it might not have stood out. Many would have walked past it without a second glance, dismissing it as nothing more than part of the natural landscape. But this time, investigators stopped. They took a closer look. What they found was described simply as unusual enough to be collected, documented, and added to the growing case file. For investigators, it became one more piece of the puzzle. For the community, it became a new point of discussion. Another reason to wonder how many other details may still be waiting to be uncovered, hidden in plain sight. The area in question wasn't dramatic or eye-catching. It was a shallow disturbance in the ground, first noticed by investigators as they carried out routine scanning near the home. At first glance, it looked ordinary, no different than many other small marks in the soil that naturally occur in open terrain. But this time, searchers paused. Something about the location appeared unusual enough to warrant a closer look. Neighbors who lived nearby later reported seeing members of the search team working carefully, documenting every step as they examined the spot. Nothing about the process was rushed. Investigators measured, photographed, and recorded their work, treating the area as though even the smallest detail could matter. And then something was noted. Officially, it has been described in only one way. Strange, not immediately clear, not confirmed to be connected, but distinct enough that it could not be ignored. Teams carefully secured the items, placed them into evidence containers, and transported them for further review. Authorities have been careful with their wording. They have not announced the recovery of sensitive findings. Instead, they've referred to objects of interest. In a case like this, that could mean a wide range of things: clothing fibers, soil samples, or even unrelated discarded items that might still provide useful context once reviewed. The important point is not the object itself, but the decision surrounding it. Investigators deemed the discovery significant enough to collect, preserve, and formally log into evidence. That choice alone tells us it cannot be dismissed. It may prove to be connected, or it may ultimately be ruled out. But for now, it sits within the official case file as part of the ongoing effort to uncover the truth. For the community, this finding has become Another moment of pause. A reminder that answers sometimes come from the most ordinary places. A shallow disturbance in the ground just steps away from the home where questions first began. In every major investigation, it is often the smallest discoveries that shift the direction of the case. A detail that first appears insignificant can later take on new meaning when viewed in the full picture. That is why this shallow ground marking and the unusual finding inside it matters. The fact that it was located so close to the home raises important questions. How many times had search teams already passed by that very spot? How could something so near remain unnoticed until now? For many in the community, this moment has become a symbol of both persistence and frustration. On one hand, it shows that investigators are willing to return, to recheck, and to look more carefully into areas already examined. On the other hand, it forces people to wonder if this was there all along, what else might still be hidden in plain sight. Public reaction has reflected that tension. Some see the discovery as proof that progress is being made, that every inch of ground is being covered with care. Others worry it highlights possible oversights, that something so close to the starting point could have escaped earlier notice. For families who have been following the case closely, these questions are not just about procedure. They're about trust, about whether every possible step is being taken to uncover the truth. But here is where caution is needed. As of now, investigators have not confirmed that the finding is directly related to Emmanuel's disappearance. Official statements have described it only as objects of interest, nothing more. That uncertainty means the discovery could prove important or it could turn out to be unrelated. Until further review is complete, no one can say for certain. And yet, the weight of the moment remains. Even without clear answers, this finding reminds us that progress often comes in small, quiet steps, that a single decision to stop and look closer can change the path forward, and that in cases like this, where so much remains unresolved, even a small discovery close to home can feel like a turning point. Every new development in this case carries significance, not only for investigators, but for the community that has been watching closely from the very beginning. Each update feels heavy because it represents both hope and uncertainty at the same time. For families living nearby, for neighbors who join search parties, and for advocates who have spoken out about child safety, this latest finding has only deepened the call for answers. Many are asking for accountability, not only from those directly charged, but also from the wider systems and safeguards that may not have acted as quickly or as thoroughly as expected. The discovery of something unusual so close to the home is another reminder that the search for Emmanuel is far from over. At the same time, the legal system is preparing to move forward. Courtrooms are not built on speculation. They are built on evidence. And any new discovery, no matter how small, is likely to be examined in detail. Legal teams on both sides will ask the same questions the public is asking now. What exactly was found? How was it collected? And how does it fit or not fit into the broader timeline of events? For prosecutors, this could be an opportunity. If the object is shown to have relevance, it could strengthen their case by demonstrating that investigators are uncovering physical findings to support their position. For defense attorneys, the focus may be different. They may use the discovery to raise questions about the reliability of earlier searches, or to argue that uncertainty still surrounds the investigation. The timing of this discovery is also important. On September 16th, the court is scheduled to hold a felony settlement conference, a session designed to assess the readiness of the case for trial. The very next day, on September 17th, a preliminary hearing will take place. This is when prosecutors will begin presenting the evidence they believe is sufficient to move the case forward. Whether or not this unusual finding becomes part of that narrative remains to be seen, but the possibility is very real. For now, the community waits. Each new piece of information adds to the emotional impact, while the courts prepare to decide how much of it can stand as evidence. It is a reminder that in cases like this, the legal process and the public search for answers often move on different timelines, but both are now watching closely to see what comes of this unusual discovery. Moments like this force us to step back and ask deeper questions. How do small details like a shallow hole in the ground become potential turning points in major cases? The answer lies in how investigations are built. Large breakthroughs are rare. More often, it is the careful accumulation of smaller discoveries that eventually forms a clearer picture. What seems minor in one moment can later prove meaningful once new context is added. For the community, each announcement carries a complicated mix of emotions. Relief because it shows investigators are still searching, still uncovering, still committed to finding answers, but also concern because every discovery brings with it the possibility of difficult news. That tension is what makes following a case like this so challenging for families, neighbors, and those who have been following Emmanuel's story. It is natural to wonder, could this be the moment that finally brings Emmanuel's case closer to resolution? Could what was uncovered near the home provide the answers that have eluded investigators for so long? These questions are now being echoed across news outlets, community meetings, and online discussions. And yet, the reality is this: until the evidence is fully tested, until results are confirmed, and until the courts review the findings, no one can say with certainty what this discovery truly means. That is why caution is so important. In the pursuit of truth, no single discovery should be over-interpreted. What feels like progress may in time turn out to be unrelated. On the other hand, what seems small may later prove to be the detail that unlocks the bigger picture. Only the facts carefully tested, confirmed, and presented in court can determine which it will be. As the legal process moves forward, these questions will remain at the heart of the case. And for the community, they highlight something larger than one finding: the ongoing search for truth, for accountability, and for closure in the story of Emmanuel Haro. And so we return to where we began. Something unusual was indeed found not far from the home where this story first began. And while investigators have not yet confirmed what it ultimately means, the fact remains: every search, every object, and every careful lead adds to the picture. In an investigation this sensitive, nothing can be taken for granted. The community continues to wait. The legal system prepares for its next steps, and the search team presses on. What was uncovered may one day prove vital, or it may fade into the long list of details that did not directly connect. But either way, it stands as a reminder that progress is built slowly, piece by piece, detail by detail. Now, I'd like to hear from you. What do you think this new discovery could mean? Does it demonstrate the persistence of investigators, showing that no area is being left unchecked, or does it raise deeper questions about what might have been overlooked earlier? Your perspective matters, and I encourage you to share it in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on the Emmanuel Haro case and follow every development with care and respect, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Here we look past the headlines, focusing on the facts, the process, and the voices of the community. This case is far from over, and together we will continue to follow it step by step.